Mad Max Fury Road is not a bad movie. In fact, it's a pretty damn good movie. In terms of action, it's pretty spectacular, all right? But it was missing something. There was an X factor. There was something that just held it back from being an all-time great best action movie, absolute masterpiece. There was something holding it back, in my opinion, and that was the lack of Mel Gibson, all right? He should have been in this movie. There's no reason why he couldn't have been in this movie. The argument cannot be made he was too old to play Max Rokitansky, all right? Because look at him in some of the newest movies he's been in. Blood Father, Dragged Across Concrete. The guy is as gritty as hell. Even the newest Expendables movie, which is a few years old in itself. The guy is completely jacked. In terms of physicality, I'd say he's more imposing and more physical than he's ever been now in his 60s. The guy looks fantastic. He's got that grizzled look, that world-weary, battle-hardened look about him. You know, a lined face, put a beard on him. He looks fantastic. It would be the best iteration of Max on the screen if he had been in Fury Road. And the rest of the movie around him was already pretty great. Like, the action was fantastic. The cinematography was spectacular, out of this world. Charlize Theron was great as Furiosa. She was an all-time great character. All right? And Tom Hardy is a great actor, but they really played him down in this movie. All right? He put in a really subdued performance. He barely spoke a word in it. I know I like a stoic character. All right? And Mel can play a stoic character. But having seen the other Mad Max movies, it needed Mel Gibson in this film. There's no reason why he couldn't have been in it. You know, I understand maybe there was some kind of, they couldn't come to an agreement in terms of contracts, or maybe he was tied up doing something else. I don't know why George Miller did not insist on waiting to make this film with Mel, as if Mel wouldn't have made it if they could have cleared a schedule and got the timing right. He would have jumped at it. I'm sure he would have. So I don't know why, maybe he wanted to tell a different story, but the Mad Max story is the story of Mel fucking Gibson. All right? What could have been? All right? Fury Road is a great movie in terms of, an achievement in live action. Yes, there were CGI touch-ups. Don't be fooled that the entire movie had no CGI at all, apart from the really obvious, steering wheel coming out of the screen. That almost ruined the movie for me. All right? I did enjoy the movie, but that one moment, I was like, Miller, you should have cut that out, mate. All right? But, like I said, it is a great movie. It's a great action film. The cinematography really is out of this world. It is a standout movie amongst a sea of mostly shit that comes out nowadays. All right, every now and then you get a good action movie that stands out, like Extraction or John Wick, or even I've heard The Raid is very good, 1 and 2. That is on my list absolutely to as a must-watch action film. But Fury Road, it is one of the greats, but it's not one of my favorites, and it probably would have been if Mel Gibson was in it. All right, just imagine the gravitas he would have brought to that role. Even if he was playing a subdued style, stoic character like Tom Hardy played. He could have played it in that same style. But it would have been Mel Gibson. You would have had the history, the legacy, building up over 35 years to lead up to that point in time. And it could have been Max's last stand. They even could have had him die at the end. But if they had done it in a satisfactory way where he, sacrificed himself to save Furiosa and maybe, that whole society, it would have been great. It would have been a great send-off to the character. But instead, he just never appears on the screen. He's never even mentioned. And we're supposed to be satisfied with that. Well, I wasn't satisfied. And it pissed me off even more when I started watching Mel's recent roles and how great he is. I feel he's almost at a, all-time best of his career. He's, yes, most of his best films are behind him, all right? Doesn't mean that there aren't some coming, all right? But, in fact, actually, I'd say Braveheart is his best movie he's been in. The best movie he's made, in my opinion, is Passion of the Christ. But the best acting performance I've seen him in is Braveheart. But he was great in the Lethal Weapon films. But in modern times, I loved him in Dragged Across Concrete. If you haven't seen that, you got to watch it. I even have a review of it on my channel. And he really has made a comeback in his career. And he's got the look, he's got the physicality, he's got that, he can pull out that rage sort of, persona. That underlying boiling rage beneath the surface that would have done so well in a Mad Max movie. And I really honestly don't know why they didn't put him in it. It would have elevated the movie from a really good action film to maybe one of the best of all time, if they had put him in it and given him a lot of screen time and a satisfactory finish. For me, it's a missed opportunity. And I hear they're going to make another Mad Max movie, but I think it's going to focus more on Furiosa. I'll tell you what, I'm not interested. I liked her character as a one-off, but I don't want her to be the face of the franchise. It's called Mad fucking Max, not Mad Furiosa. Anyway, I guess Tom Hardy's not coming back either. And he was good in it, but he was kind of forgettable, I got to admit. Even with the whole, fan theory of him being the grown-up version of the feral kid from Mad Max 2, that did make it a bit more satisfying for me, knowing or imagining that that's who he was as a character. At least that way it had a tie to the older movies, because without that, and that's just a fan theory, it's not official, it's not canon, it hasn't been confirmed by the director, George Miller, but that was the only thread tying it to the other movies, because apart from that, it was like a standalone, just with the same title. It didn't feel connected to the other movies at all, apart from this sort of setting, and that was about it. None of the characters had crossed over, nothing. And I feel like that's what was lacking with this movie. It had no connection to the older films, and it's a real shame, because it had the potential to be so damn good, because most of the movie is great. Just these few little things. Even the villain was great. Immortan Joe, however you say it, played by the guy who played Toe Cutter in the first one. That was a nice connection, but again, that's not a canon connection, because it can't be the same character, obviously. It's just the same actor. But that doesn't connect the movies in terms of in-world lore. And having Mel Gibson in it being the same character of Max Rokitansky, that original cop from the wasteland, from the apocalypse, who had a family and lost it all and then became mad, literally Mad Max. That would have tied it all together and made it all make sense and made it a nice cohesive in-film universe. And without that, the movie just felt lost on its own, as like a standalone that had some punch, but it didn't have that lasting bite that would have made it an all-time great. Anyway, I better leave it there. There's not much else I can say except that, Mel Gibson should have been in this movie, and it would have made it one of the greatest bloody action movies of all time. Bloody oath. Anyway, it was a nice injection of, Australian cinema onto the screen. But because we don't get very many big-budget movies made. Although it wasn't filmed down here, it was supposed to, but the locations that they wanted to film it at weren't suitable for the look of how they wanted it to look, so they had to go film it in Africa. But it'd be nice if, some more Australian movies were made with bigger budgets as well. But the director's an Aussie, at least, and it would have been nice to have Mel Gibson in there too, who I still can sort of consider him an Aussie, even though he was born in the States, but he was raised here, he started his career here. And then in his 20s, I guess, or 30s, he went back to the US. And his Aussie accent's gone completely. He's completely lost that. But I always sort of consider him, an Aussie of sorts. And I've always loved Mel Gibson, and I feel like his career is really hitting a golden point now, where he's really fitting nicely into roles of, the grizzled older guy who battle-weary and world-weary, and just tough as nails, man. He's becoming like a great sort of Clint Eastwood type tough old man who you'd never fuck with in a million years. And it would have been great to see him in Fury Road. Anyway, he's hoping one day they will make another Mad Max movie. George Miller will, and he'll put Mel Gibson in it and give him the farewell that he bloody well deserves. Anyway, I guess I'll leave it there. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Tell me if you agree or disagree, if you like Fury Road as it is, or if you wish Mel had been in it just like I do. Take care, be good, and I'll see yous later.